All right, so our test is on the patterns that are in the place value system. Remember, 10 times as much as and 1/10 of. And then we're going to talk about some graphing. All right, so the first one, how's the value of the 3 in this number different from the value of the 3 in this number? Before I begin, I need to be using a place value chart. So I'm going to kind of take part of my answer box here, and I'm going to make a place value chart. I need it to be 4 long. Okay, making place value charts is how you're going to be successful on this. So this is the number that's first. How is this one different? So I have to put this number down first. 34 and 56 hundredths, 45 and 43 hundredths. Remember, my decimals have to be lined up. And remember, this is the tens place. Ones, tenths, and hundredths. Hundredths. Okay, so I'm looking at the 3. How is it different? So I'm going to say the 3 in the tens place is what? Is how much bigger? I'm going to look at this. It is 1, 2, 3 moves. 10, 100, 1,000. Is 1,000 times larger than the 3 in the hundredths place. Because the 3 was shifted 3 place values. I talked about shifting, I talked about place value, and I talked about how much larger it was than the other. Okay? All right, so using digit cards, the teacher changed this number to this number. Explain what happened to the 5 as it moved from the tens to the tenths. Okay, I'm going to draw myself a place value chart again to help support my answer and to be sure I get the number right. Right? Tens, ones, tenths. 54, 3 tenths, 34 and 5 tenths. I'm looking at the 5. Right? So, what happened to the digit? Okay. So the digit 5 went 1, 2. The digit 5 shifted, I was going to say moved, but I think shifted is a better word, shifted 2 place values smaller. So it was divided by 100 or times decimal 0.1 because this is hundredths or 1/100th. So it is 1/100th So let me explain what it is. 5 in the tenths is 1/100th of the 5 in the tens. Okay, 5 in the tenths is 1/100th of the 5 in the tens. All right, explain what happens to the value of the digit when multiplied by 10 and divided by 10. Okay, I'm going to use a place value chart to show my thinking. Okay. I have to do divide and multiply by 10. Okay, so I have 1,600. When I divide by 10, it's going to go this way. The 0 is going to come over, then the 0, then the 6, then the 1. That's my first example. Remember, this is the ones, this is the tens, the hundreds, the thousandths, the tenths. This one I have 1 and 6/10. And I'm multiplying by 10. When I multiply by 10, I have to shift it this way. And the 6 comes over, right? Multiplying gets bigger, dividing gets smaller. Okay. So when I multiply, I started talking about the multiply, so I guess I'm going to do this one first. When I multiply 1 and 6 by 10, I shift the 1 from the ones place to, I shift the ones from the ones place to the tens place. So 1 place to the left. Okay? So when I divide 1,600 by 10, I shift one place to the right. So 1,600 goes to 160. All right. In which of the following equations does n equal 10? Let's see. Again, I'm going to draw a place value chart. I have no idea how many lines I should be doing. Let's just do some. So let's put the numbers in. 745 divided by 8. Okay, let's see what happens when I divide by 10. Okay, the 8 goes here, 5 goes here, the 4 comes over, the 7 comes over. So let's see, does this match this? No, it does not. Let's try this answer choice. Keep my decimal in the same place, 51 and 3/10. Let's divide by 10. The 3 comes over, the 1 comes over, and the 5 comes over. That does not equal that. Okay, let's try this one. 81 and 42/100. Let's divide by 10. 2 comes over, 4 comes over, 1 comes over, 8. When I divide, I always go to the smaller place values. That does not equal that. Not right. D. 7 and 15/100. Divide by 10. 5 moves over, 1 moves over, 7 moves over. Yes. So I explained by, I used my place value chart to shift each number to the right, 1 place value. So 815 divided by 10 is 715,000. And I use my place value chart here to show me all my answers. So, London, England can be a wet place. Following chart shows average monthly temperatures. Okay, I'm going to use a place value chart to do the first few, and then I'm going to figure out my patterns. To go from millimeters to centimeters. I know there's 10 inside here. There are more centimeters there are in a millimeter. There's lots of them. There's 10. Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke wrong. There are more millimeters in a centimeter. Centimeter, if I have 10 millimeters, I only have 1 centimeter. So I have to get to a smaller number. So I'm going to divide by 10 when I go that way. So let's draw a place value chart. When I divide by 10, I'm going to shift 1 place smaller. So it's going to come over. The 7's going to come over. So it's going to be 7 8/10. Well, let's just double check. My pattern of 52, and I shift it over 5 and 2. All right, so I'm going to finish my pattern. Finish my pattern. Right? These are all centimeters. So again, the expectation is I used a place value chart to start what I needed to do, and then I finished the rest of the pattern. I don't have to put all the examples in the place value chart. I did it twice. I checked it. I'm going to move on. All right, what happens when I go from centimeters to meters? Meters is a larger unit, but it takes smaller numbers to represent it. There's more centimeters and less meters. Less means I have to divide a whole number to get there. How many centimeters are in a meter? 100. We need to make sure we know this for the test. We need to make sure we know this. So I'm going to draw myself a place value chart. So I'm going to divide by 100. So I need to move over 2 places. 1, 2. 7 moves over. 1, 2. Decimal stays the same, and I have to fill it in with a 0. Meters. All right, let's do it with this one. 5 2/10. I have to move it over 2 places. 2. 5 comes over. A 0 comes over. Okay? So I'm going to follow the pattern the rest of the time. Followed the pattern. I showed what happened in a place value chart, and I followed the pattern. All right, so let's answer the questions. What's the relationship between millimeters, centimeters, and meters? So I'm going to say 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters is equal to a meter, right? So this one I would shift 1 place. So when I would shift 2 places. Okay, fill in the rest of the table. Did it. And what month was the highest rainfall? January. Because 78 is larger than 61 and all of the rest in the 50s. What kind of data does this chart show? So we haven't talked about this a lot recently. We talked about at the beginning of the year that there was 3 choices. There's 3 choices of categorical, when I could put them into categories, when I could do numerical, when they were number information, And then inside of numerical, there was data that changes over time. Data that changes over time. Well, this one is about time, and it's changing. So my answer is data that changes over time. Data that changes over time. All right, so I need to graph it. I already have these done. These are the months. It's already labeled, and it's in millimeters. Okay, it's in millimeters. So I'm going here. Okay, my smallest one is in the 50s, and my largest one is in the 70s. Okay, so I have to go from about 50s up to 80s. I'm going to skip count by 2 because I think that I'll have enough space to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go by 50. I'm labeling the lines. Okay, I'm not going to get my graph correct if I'm showing I'm labeling spaces, lines. 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72, 74, 76, 78, 80. I don't think I have to go any higher. I think I'm good. All right, so let's see. January, 78. January was 78. February was 52. February was 52. March was 61. That's halfway between 60 and 62. 61. April was 55. April going up to 55. That's between 54 and 56. May is 56. June is 58. June is 58. I'm going to make sure I use a straight edge. I kind of have to move this to get it in the... So I'm using a straight edge to connect the two, right? I feel like it's going to go out of the screen in a minute. Okay. So I need, when I'm going over the study guide video, I need to study my answers because a lot of this is about explaining, and you're going to need to be ready to draw a lot of place value charts tomorrow to support your answer. Okay, I have to label what these numbers mean. Rainfall in millimeters. I labeled numbers, labeled words, title. They're all labeled on the lines, and I used a straight edge to connect.